And welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's midnight now here in Cairo, and this is a new edition of Panorama News. In the upcoming 45 minutes, we'll be bringing you the latest of the political, economic and sports news from all around the world. I'm Hani Saif. I'll be bringing you the political and economic news for tonight, but we'll start off with the political news. And the headlines lead the way. President Sisi follows up implementing of national projects during a meeting with Prime Minister and Ministers of Electricity and Transport. The Arab League delegation for following up the parliamentary elections in Egypt submits its final report to the Arab League chief. And 6 U.S. troops were killed by a suicide bomber in Afghanistan. Welcome back. The news in details. President Abdel Fattah Sisi on Monday held a meeting with Prime Minister Sharif Ismail, as well as the Ministers of Electricity, Renewable Energy, Finance and Transportation. During the meeting, they reviewed national projects that are implemented in the fields of energy and transportation and means of funding them. Presidential spokesman Ambassador Ala Yusuf said that the Minister of Electricity and Renewable Resources reviewed with the President the outcome of his recent visit to Russia and his discussions with Russian officials regarding establishing the nuclear station in Doba. Mr. Mohammad Shekhar said that during his meeting with Russian officials, he stressed on the importance of Egyptian-Russian cooperation and on establishing a training center in a Doba station to train Egyptian cadres and ensure the transfer of high-technology technical experiences to them. On his part, Transportation Minister Saad Al-Goueshi reviewed a number of projects carried out in the transportation sector, including the railways, underground metro, airports and seaports to maximize their benefits. Also on Monday, President Sisi met with the President of the National Council for Human Rights, Dr. Mohammed Fayed. During their meeting, the President praised the role played by the Council and its members in defending freedoms and cementing the culture of human rights, stressing is committed to elevating the principles of justice, accountability and human rights, which confronts any violations to those principles. The President also stressed that the government is exerting its utmost efforts to cement the rule of law, asserting that anyone in any of the country's institutions who commits wrongdoing will be held accountable. On his part, Dr. Faye congratulated the President in accomplishing the third step of the roadmap, the parliamentary elections, successfully, and praised the process and the fair, transparent atmosphere was held within. He also reviewed the activities carried out by the Council in boosting the culture of human rights and in defending liberties, stressing that the Council will continue with its work in this domain. The Arab League delegation tasked with following up the parliamentary elections process in Egypt submitted its final report to the Arab League Secretary General, the High Electoral Committee and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The delegation hailed the system of the parliamentary election process as organized, adding that the few negative points didn't affect the process. The Arab delegation urged to establish a national institute for elections according to the Egyptian constitution. The institution aimed at developing the election process as well as handling the negative points in any upcoming elections. Spokesman for the Foreign Ministry, Councillor Ahmed Abu Zaid, said Monday that the latest unrest in Ethiopia is an internal issue. Speaking to reporters, Abu Zaid said that Egypt is keen on restoring stability in Ethiopia and for the African country to continue its economic and social developmental program. The spokesman noted that stability in Ethiopia serves the interests of the continent and including Egypt. For the third consecutive week, protests continued against the government's decision to allocate agricultural land near the capital Addis Ababa for new investments. Human rights groups said that 75 people were killed in the protests, which turned into clashes with the police. The group said that the toll was exaggerated and blamed armed gangs for instigating the violence. Saudi Arabia intercepted a missile fired before dawn Monday from Yemen towards its southern border region in the latest such attack, despite a ceasefire and peace talks. In a brief statement, the Saudi-led coalition fighting in Yemen since March said air defenses stopped the missile from reaching the kingdom's southern Jazan district. Saudi Arabia has deployed Patriot missile batteries designed to counter tactical ballistic missiles. 3 civilians, 2 of them from India, died on Saturday when shell fire from Yemen struck the border of Najran. On Friday, the coalition said Saudi air defenses intercepted a ballistic missile launched from Yemen and that a second missile struck a desert area east of Najran city. Those attacks came after a local source reported that on September 13th, another missile struck a desert area of the kingdom's south, causing no damage. A collapsing ceasefire between Yemen's warring parties was to be extended Monday night as fighting persisted in the north and the rebels vowed more missile attacks on Saudi targets. The truce was set to be renewed for 1 week, a day after the Saudi-backed government and Iran-backed rebels wrapped up peace talks in Switzerland without a breakthrough. The 6 days of closed-door meetings were strained by repeated violations of a coinciding ceasefire aimed at calming tensions between loyalists and the rebels who control Sana'a. On Monday, clashes continued in the north of Yemen, while there was a lull in fighting in the south, even outside is under siege from rebels. 10 rebels were killed as loyalists pressed their offensive in Nihm, 40 kilometers outside the capital. Loyalists also advanced towards the Saudi border post of Baqa in northern Jawf province. Russia and France have agreed to bolster efforts to share intelligence relating to the Daesh militant group after both countries vowed to cooperate militarily on the issue. French Defense Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian held talks with Russian counterpart in Moscow on Monday to discuss all possible means to deal with the terrorist threat. Le Drian said that they have agreed to strengthen their exchange of military information, both on the strikes and the location of the different groups in Syria. The two sides agreed to share intelligence on foreign fighters having joined the ranks of terrorist groups in Iraq and Syria, a figure that has more than doubled since last year to at least 27,000, according to a recent report by an intelligence consultancy. Iraq's armed forces announced that it will start an operation to retake the western city of Ramadi from Daesh militants very soon. Iraqi Army Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Osman al-Ghanimi said that there is an ongoing operation to control a sector in preparation of the onslaught of the city center within the coming hours. The Defense Ministry spokesman said earlier that Daesh militants were preventing civilians from leaving Ramadi before the planned attack on the city, which fell under control of the organization in May. Iraqi military planes on Sunday dropped leaflets on Ramadi asking residents to leave within 72 hours and indicating safe routes for their exit. Iraqi intelligence estimates the number of Daesh militants that are entrenched in the center of Ramadi, capital of Anbar province, between 250 and 300. Iraq on Monday welcomed an announcement by Turkey that it would pull its troops back from a base in northern Iraq and said it hoped the withdrawal would be completed. The deployment of around 150 troops to the camp this month prompted Iraq to accuse Turkey of violating its sovereignty and lodge a formal complaint at the UN Security Council. Turkey withdrew some troops to another base inside Iraq's Kurdistan region last week and said it would continue to pull out of Nineveh province, where the camp is located. It did not say how many troops would be moved or where to. Turkey has said it was deploying the troops to train an Iraqi militia to fight Daesh. Spokesman for Tehran's Foreign Ministry, Hossein Jaber Ansari, said on Monday that diplomatic efforts are being made to open direct dialogue between Iran and Saudi Arabia. Ansari said that diplomatic efforts are underway between Iran and Saudi Arabia to prepare the ground for direct dialogue to resolve differences and regional issues. Iran stands on opposing sides in the conflicts in Syria, Iraq and Yemen, as well as in Bahrain and Lebanon. Iran supports the Syrian and Iraqi governments and provides both with military advice against militants. Riyadh condemns Tehran's policy and supports rebel groups in Syria. Ansari also said that a new Saudi ambassador would soon take office in the Iranian capital. The current Saudi ambassador has not been in Tehran for over a year. And a child suicide bomber detonated his explosives, killing himself, 2 other bombers and 6 people in northeast Nigeria in the latest bloodshed blamed on Boko Haram militant group. The attack in Benin Sheikh in Borno State occurred when 3 suspected suicide bombers aged between 10 and 15 years were stopped for security screening by civilian vigilantes in the area. One of the bombers, who was strapped with explosives, detonated the bomb, causing the death of 9 people, while 24 others sustained various degrees of injuries. Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari has given his military commanders until the end of the month to end the 6-year violence. Rwanda's President Paul Kagame thanked the nation on Monday for voting in a referendum last week that overwhelmingly backed constitutional changes to let him extend his rule beyond 2017. But he did not say if he would seek re-election. Friday's referendum, in which 98% of those casting ballots voted yes. Kagame said in a State of the Nation address that when the time comes to transfer responsibility from one public servant to another, Rwandans already have confidence that it will be done in an orderly and harmonious manner. He added that no individual is forever, but there is no term limit on values, institutions, or progress. A delegation of South Sudan's rebels has returned to the capital after 2 years of exile to start implementing a peace agreement signed 4 months ago. 15 members of a 150-persons advance team landed in South Sudan's capital, Juba, from Gambela, Ethiopia, to start work to make the peace deal a reality.
A team of rebel officials landed in South Sudan's capital Juba on Monday to prepare for the return of the rebel leader next month and the formation of a transitional government that was agreed in a peace agreement. President Salva Kiir and his rival Riek Machar, the deputy president he sacked in 2013 in a political row that blew up into a conflict, signed an accord in August. But both sides have since accused the other of violating the pact with new attacks. Fighting has killed thousands of people, driven more than 2 million people from their homes, and created a food crisis for many other nations, 11 million people. Oil output, the main source of income, has plummeted along with global crude prices. Taban Dengai, chief negotiator of the rebel group known as SPLAIO, said that their arrival today in Juba is the end of the war and that the public should expect the arrival of his chairman and commander-in-chief Riek Machar to Juba during January.
Burkina Faso has issued an international warrant for ousted leader Blaise Compaoré for his role in the mysterious 1987 killing of his former comrade, ex-president Thomas Sankara. On Monday, a police lab helping investigate the killing of the iconic former president reported that the state of the remains made it impossible to detect any DNA. Judicial source said that Compaoré, who is living in exile in the Ivory Coast, had been charged with an attack and assassination. Compaoré was toppled from power by a popular uprising in October of 2014 after ruling Burkina Faso with an iron fist for 27 years. Sankara, a revolutionary figure who is still a hero to many in West Africa, was killed on October 15th of 1987 during the coup that brought his friend and former comrade-in-arms Compaoré to power. Iran's foreign ministry said on Monday that Israeli lobbying was behind a new measure passed by the U.S. Congress that will prevent visa-free travel to the United States for people who have visited Iran or hold Iranian nationality. The measure, which President Barack Obama signed into law on Friday, also applies to Iraq, Syria and Sudan and was introduced as a security measure. Iran said that its inclusion on the list is intended to undermine a nuclear deal that Tehran reached with world powers, including the United States, in July. Known as the JCPOA Foreign Ministry spokesman, Hussein Jabir Ansari, said that the U.S. measure had been passed under pressure from the Zionist lobby and the currents opposed to the JCPOA. And a motorcycle-riding Taliban suicide bomber killed 6 U.S. soldiers near Kabul Monday in a brazen attack as the resurgent militant group battled to seize a key southern district in Afghanistan opium-growing heartland. The bombing during a joint patrol with Afghan forces near Bagram, the largest U.S. military base in Afghanistan, marks one of the deadliest attacks on foreign troops in the country this year.
6 American troops were killed in Afghanistan on Monday when a suicide bomber on a motorbike struck their patrol near Bagram Air Base in the latest high-profile attack claimed by Taliban insurgents. Just days ago, the Pentagon warned of deteriorating security in Afghanistan in the second half of 2015 and a rise in the number of effective strikes by Taliban insurgents. NATO's Resolute Support mission in Kabul said that the attack killed 6 Resolute Support troops and wounded 3 others, but declined to provide the nationalities of casualties. A U.S. official said all 6 killed were Americans. More than 2,300 U.S. troops have died in the Afghan war since the 2001 invasion. The police chief of Parwan province said 3 Afghan police have been wounded in the bombing, which was carried out just days after other suicide attacks on Kandahar Air Base in southern Afghanistan and on a Spanish embassy guest house in the Afghan capital, Kabul.
Pakistani Marine Forces on Monday arrested 66 Indian fishermen for allegedly violating Pakistan's territorial waters in the Arabian Sea. A senior police official in the port city of Karachi said that Pakistan's Maritime Security Agency also captured 10 boats belonging to the fishermen. He said that these 66 fishermen were handed over to police on Monday, adding that they have begun legal proceedings and they will be soon presented in a court. The fishermen often languish in jail even after serving their term, as poor diplomatic ties between the 2 arch rivals mean fulfilling official requirements can take a long time. A senior prison official said more than 400 Indian fishermen were currently detained in the southern city of Karachi. Two Turkish soldiers were killed in a roadside bomb attack on their vehicle by Kurdish militants in southeastern Bitlis province, as security forces also battled militants elsewhere in the region. The bomb had wounded 6 other soldiers in the military vehicle, driving on a forested road near an area of clashes with the Kurdistan Workers' Party fighters.
Clashes with Kurdish militants said the military pressed on with one of its biggest recent domestic operations, and controversial curfew orders were expanded to a new area in the Kurdish-dominant southeast. The army has since last week pursued a relentless campaign against PKK rebels in the 2 southeastern towns of Cizre and Silopi in a bid to root out militants of the outlawed Kurdistan Workers' Party PKK. Local authorities in the southeastern city of Nusaybin said Monday that a curfew measure in the town that had previously applied to 3 areas have been widened to cover 11 more, essentially the whole town. In its latest call, the army said that 89 Kurdish militants have been killed in Cizre since the operation began, including 9 on Sunday alone. 9 have been killed in Silopi, 7 in Sur, while 10 have been killed in Dargisit.
And Colombia's president shared his dismay Monday after his country's beauty queen was wrongly named Miss Universe in a dramatic mix-up watched live by millions before the glittering crown was bestowed on the rightful winner, Miss Philippines. The pageant's host, U.S. comedian Steve Harvey, misread his cue card in front of a global television audience late Sunday and initially announced that Miss Colombia, Adriana Gutierrez, had triumphed. Half laughing, half sobbing with emotion, Gutierrez was fleetingly crowned and congratulated at the ceremony in Las Vegas, waving to fans as she cradled a huge bouquet of flowers. But as she blew kisses to an adoring crowd, Harvey was forced to come clean about his blunder. The glittering crown was then promptly placed on Woodsbach's head. She later told reporters she wished the best to Miss Colombia. These were all the political news we have for now. Now it's time for all the economic and financial updates, and the headlines lead the way.